Welcome to the deep dive. You know, I love it when our listeners suggest these unexpected topics, and today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, I have to say.
Definitely intriguing.
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
You sent over some sources that hint at how this ancient Hindu scripture, has touched the lives and work of some
Yeah.
people you wouldn't expect, and I'm ready for the surprises.
It really is remarkable
Yeah.
how a text so rooted in a specific religious context can resonate so widely.
Yeah.
It almost suggests there's something universal about it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, looking at the list, we've got everyone from Einstein to T.S. Eliot to even, wait for it, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? It's a wild mix, and I am definitely ready to uncover these connections.
I think we're both in for some surprises.
Yeah. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's set the stage a bit.
Okay.
For those who might need a refresher, what exactly is the Bhagavad Gita?
Sure.
And why has it held such significance even beyond Hinduism?
So the Bhagavad Gita, or just the Gita, as it's often called, is part of this larger epic Sanskrit poem called the Mahabharata.
Okay.
And to give you a sense of the setting picture, a 700-verse dialogue unfolding right on a battlefield.
A battlefield? That doesn't sound very peaceful or enlightening.
Right.
It's not exactly the first place that comes to mind when I think spiritual guidance. Help me understand this.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You see, at the heart of it, it's this incredible conversation between Prince Arjuna, a warrior facing a moral dilemma,
Okay.
and Krishna, his charioteer, who also happens to be an incarnation of the god Vishnu.
Wow.
So they're not just talking about battlefield tactics. They're delving into these huge questions about duty, action, righteousness, and even the very nature of the self.
Okay, I'm starting to see how a text born from such a dramatic setting could offer some pretty potent life lessons.
Right.
But, how does it connect to a modern physicist like Einstein? That's the part that's throwing me for a loop.
Right. There's this famous quote from Einstein where he said, "Reading the Gita made everything else seem superfluous."
Wow.
Now, I can't say for certain, of course, but knowing Einstein's fascination with the interconnectedness of the universe,
Right.
I wonder if the Gita's concept of unity resonated with him.
You're right. Einstein was obsessed with finding a unified field theory, a way to connect all the forces of the universe.
Exactly.
Could the Gita have provided some sort of philosophical framework for his scientific pursuit?
It's definitely possible. The Gita emphasizes that everything is interconnected, that there's this underlying unity to all of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea could have provided Einstein with a sense of spiritual grounding for his scientific work,
Yeah.
a way to see his equations, not just as mathematical formulas, but as reflections of a deeper cosmic order.
That's a really interesting point. And to think this ancient text might have helped shape the mind of one of the most influential scientists of the 20th century.
It's pretty remarkable. And speaking of influential figures,
Yeah.
let's move on to another, perhaps more controversial figure who was deeply affected by the Gita.
Okay.
J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb.
Now that's a pairing I never would have imagined.
Right.
How did Oppenheimer, the man who ushered in the nuclear age, connect with the Bhagavad Gita?
It might seem paradoxical, but Oppenheimer, like Einstein, was a complex thinker who saw beyond the surface. He was known to have carried a copy of the Gita with him and even quoted it during the Trinity test, the first detonation of an atomic bomb.
Wait, really? What did he say?
His quote was, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Oh, wow. It's a chilling line, isn't it?
It is. The line itself is a reference to a passage in the Gita where Krishna reveals his divine form to Arjuna, showcasing the immense power at play in the universe.
Right.
For Oppenheimer, who was wrestling with the moral implications of his work,
Yeah.
this quote might have reflected the overwhelming power he'd have to unleash,
Right.
and maybe even a sense of personal responsibility for the consequences.
It's almost as if he saw himself as a modern-day Arjuna grappling with the moral complexities of wielding such devastating power.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And this brings up an interesting question, doesn't it? Can a text set on a battlefield, a text about warriors and duty, really promote peace?
That's a good question. I'm struggling to reconcile those two ideas.
Well, the Gita offers multiple layers of interpretation. Some focus on its call to selfless action,
Right.
even if that action involves violence. Others emphasize its ultimate message of nonviolence and achieving inner peace.
So Oppenheimer, in all his complexity, might have been drawn to both sides of that coin.
He might have. It's fascinating to think about how a text this old can still spark such profound questions and internal struggles,
Yeah.
even for someone in the midst of such a world-altering event.
It's clear that both Einstein and Oppenheimer found something in the Gita that resonated deeply with them.
Definitely.
It makes me wonder what other unexpected figures were drawn to its wisdom.
That's precisely where our quest is leading us, ready to explore how the Gita influenced writers and artists.
Absolutely. Let's see what creative sparks this ancient text ignited.
Okay, so we're shifting gears a bit now to explore how the Bhagavad Gita found its way into the hearts and minds of artists and writers.
Right.
We've got T.S. Eliot, Aldous Huxley, and Philip Glass on our list.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to imagine a more diverse trio of creative minds.
And yet they each found something in the Gita that fueled their artistic expression.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the text's ability to transcend cultural and temporal boundaries.
Right.
Let's start with T.S. Eliot, a giant of modernist poetry.
T.S. Eliot and the Bhagavad Gita. That's not a connection I would make on my own. Eliot's known for his complex, fragmented style. How does an ancient Hindu text fit into that picture?
That's the beauty of the Gita, its ability to resonate in the most unexpected places. It might surprise you to know that Eliot directly references the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna.
Really?
Yeah, in his poem, The Dry Salvages, which is part of his 4 quartets.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this connection. Eliot uses this beautiful imagery of a river flowing towards the sea to represent the passage of time and the idea of surrendering to a higher power, something that is very much in line with the Gita's teachings.
So is Eliot suggesting we should all just go with the flow like a leaf on a river, passively accept whatever life throws our way?
Not quite. It's more about recognizing the forces beyond our control, accepting the uncertainties of life, and finding meaning in the journey itself.
Okay.
Remember, the Gita emphasizes acting without attachment to the results. It's about doing what you believe is right, fulfilling your dharma, even if you can't control the outcome.
I see the connection now. It's about finding that inner peace, that acceptance amidst the chaos of life, which feels very relevant even in our modern world.
It does, doesn't it? And this idea of finding meaning in unexpected places leads us perfectly to Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
His dystopian novels like Brave New World paint a pretty bleak picture of the future. Yet he was deeply drawn to the Gita. How do we reconcile that?
It does seem like a bit of a contradiction. Dystopian futures and ancient wisdom don't usually go hand in hand.
Well, Huxley was a bit of a paradox himself.
Right.
He was this deep thinker who constantly explored ideas about consciousness, spirituality, and the human condition.
Right.
And he was fascinated by Eastern philosophy.
I can see where the Gita might have fit into that exploration.
Exactly. Huxley actually saw the Gita as a key text in what he called the perennial philosophy.
Perennial philosophy, what is that?
It's the idea that beneath the surface of different cultures and religions, there are these universal truths about reality and the human spirit that have existed throughout history.
So he saw the Gita as a bridge between East and West, a way to access this timeless wisdom.
Precisely. And he believed this wisdom was crucial for navigating the complexities of modern life, especially in a world obsessed with technology and materialism. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's like he saw the Gita as a counterbalance to the dehumanizing forces he explored in his novels.
It's a really compelling interpretation. And then we have Philip Glass, who might seem like the most unexpected figure to be influenced by the Gita. He's a composer, a pioneer of minimalist music. How does ancient Hindu scripture translate into sound?
I'm completely with you on this one. Music and ancient scripture don't immediately seem like a natural pairing. I'm all ears.
Get this, Glass composed an entire opera based on the Bhagavad Gita. It's called Satyagraha, which means truth force in Sanskrit.
An opera? Wow, that's not your typical operatic subject matter.
Not at all. And true to Glass's style, it's not a traditional opera with a linear plot and characters engaging in dialogue. It's more of a series of scenes and reflections inspired by the Gita's teachings with text sung in Sanskrit.
So how does he translate the philosophical ideas of the Gita into music?
Through repetition-layered melodies and this hypnotic, almost trance-like quality. The music creates a space for contemplation, mirroring the Gita's exploration of deeper truths.
I'm trying to imagine what that would sound like. It must be a very immersive experience.
It is. And it just goes to show you, the Gita's influence can take many forms, even inspiring a completely new way to experience its wisdom through music.
We've gone from poetry to dystopian novels to opera. The Gita's reach is truly impressive. I can't wait to see what other unexpected connections await us as we continue our deep dive.
You're in for a treat. We've still got leaders, politicians, and spiritual explorers to uncover, all of whom found something unique and valuable in this ancient text.
Okay, so we've journeyed from the minds of scientists and artists to the realms of philosophy and music, all guided by the unexpected influence of the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
I'm ready to see where this quest takes us next.
Well, we're about to delve into the world of leaders, politicians, and spiritual seekers who found inspiration in the Gita.
Okay.
It's a testament to its enduring power. That it can speak to those shaping the world and those seeking deeper meaning within it.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition, isn't it?
It is.
The Gita guiding both those in positions of power and those on a more introspective path. Let's start with Warren Hastings, the first Governor-General of Bengal.
Okay.
He's not someone I'd typically associate with spiritual texts.
You're right. He's often remembered for his role in British India.
Right.
But Hastings was more than just a colonial administrator. He held a genuine respect for Indian culture and thought. In fact, he played a significant role in promoting the translation of the Gita into English.
So he saw value in understanding Indian traditions even beyond their political implications.
Absolutely. He believed that to effectively govern India, it was crucial to understand its people and their cultural heritage.
Right.
He was a champion of Charles Wilkins,
Okay.
the scholar who produced the first complete English translation of the Gita.
I'm curious, what was Hastings' personal take on the Gita?
He had high praise for it, describing it as a work of great originality and sublimity. He even went so far as to call it an exception among all known religions.
Wow, that's quite an endorsement coming from someone in his position.
It is.
It seems he recognized the Gita's universal appeal, its ability to transcend cultural and religious boundaries.
Yes, and his support helped bring the Gita to the attention of a wider Western audience. It's interesting to consider how his actions, driven by a desire to understand Indian culture, inadvertently paved the way for the Gita's broader influence.
That's a great point. It highlights how interconnected history can be.
It does.
And how even seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect.
Right.
Speaking of interconnectedness, let's fast forward a few centuries and talk about Sunita Williams, the Indian-American astronaut who took a copy of the Gita with her into space.
Now that's a powerful image.
I know.
Williams, who holds record for the longest spacewalk by a woman, said she brought the Gita for spiritual reflection.
Wow.
To see things the other way while orbiting Earth.
I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like to see our planet from that perspective.
I know, it's hard to fathom.
It must put things into a whole new light.
Absolutely. And having the Gita as a companion during that experience speaks volumes about its ability to provide grounding and solace, even in the most extraordinary circumstances.
It really does, and it shows how deeply personal the connection to this text can be, even for someone at the forefront of science and exploration.
Right.
It's like the Gita offers a touchstone, a way to connect with something larger than oneself, no matter where you are, even if you're floating in space.
It's a beautiful way to put it. And it leads us to our final figure, Thomas Merton, a Trappist monk who immersed himself in Eastern thought.
Okay.
And found profound connections between his Christian faith and the teachings of the Gita.
That's a fascinating example of interfaith dialogue.
It is.
It shows how the Gita can transcend religious boundaries and spark connections between seemingly disparate traditions. What drew Martin to the Gita specifically?
He was particularly interested in the Gita's concept of the active life.
Okay.
A life lived in service to something larger than oneself, even amidst the busyness of worldly affairs.
So he saw a parallel between the Gita's call to selfless action and the Christian idea of living a life in service to God.
Exactly. He was drawn to the idea of finding union with the divine through fulfilling one's duty or dharma.
Right.
And he believed this resonated with the Christian concept of surrendering to God's will.
It's amazing to think that a text rooted in Hinduism could inspire such profound reflections for a Christian monk.
It is?
It speaks to the universality of the questions the Gita grapples with, questions about purpose, duty, and the nature of our connection to something greater than ourselves.
You've hit the nail on the head. The Gita, despite its specific cultural and historical context, seems to tap into a shared human longing for meaning and connection. It's no wonder it continues to resonate with individuals from all walks of life centuries after it was written.
You know, as we've journeyed through these diverse examples, from scientists to artists to spiritual seekers, I'm struck by how each individual found something unique in the Gita, something that spoke to their particular needs and aspirations. It's like this ancient text is a prism, reflecting different facets of wisdom depending on who's looking at it.
That's a wonderful analogy. It highlights the multifaceted nature of the Gita and its ability to speak to different aspects of the human experience.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, and I have to say it's been a truly eye-opening exploration.
It has.
We started with a simple question: How has the Bhagavad Gita influenced the world in unexpected ways?
Right.
And what we've uncovered is a tapestry of interconnected stories, each thread revealing a new dimension of the Gita's enduring power.
And it leaves us with a final thought to ponder. What might the Gita hold for you?
Mm.
What wisdom might you uncover within its pages? Perhaps that's the most unexpected influence of all the potential for personal transformation that lies dormant within this ancient text, waiting to be awakened by a curious mind.
Yes, a beautiful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the unexpected world of the Bhagavad Gita. We hope you've come away with a newfound appreciation for this ancient text and its ability to inspire, challenge, and connect us across cultures and time.